From this bold declaration and this far-sighted plan evolved the most envied way of life in the world today. A way of life conceived in liberty and identified by freedoms. Freedom of religion. Freedom to choose and follow a way of life without domination or regimentation. Freedom to assemble peaceably and select the men who will be given the privilege of governing. Freedom to move at will. Freedom to know the truth and to print it. Freedom to learn the truth and to speak it. The sum of all these freedoms means America. The Constitution of the United States of America is the supreme law of the land, guaranteeing to each of its citizens certain inalienable rights, among them the freedom of speech. Any invasion of the right of free expression is contrary to the fundamentals of American democracy and is justified only as a defensive measure when survival of the American way of life is in the balance. But at such times, America defends herself with every means at her disposal. Within 1 hour after the attack on Pearl Harbor, censorship control over cable and radio communications was placed into effect as a defensive measure. Censorship creates protective walls around our homeland and dependencies, walls which save American lives and help protect imperiled American freedoms. Headquarters of the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the United States. These are the words of one great wartime leader. He said, "All Americans abhor censorship as they abhor war. But the experience of this and of all other nations has demonstrated that censorship is essential in wartime. It is necessary to the national security that information which might be of aid to the enemy be scrupulously withheld at the source."
You are one of the principal sources of military information. While the United States is at war, your personal communications will be subject to censorship control. This control will begin when you entrain for the port of embarkation and will continue while you are at the port of embarkation and while en route to and at your overseas theater. It will remain in effect until you return to the United States or the war ends, whichever happens first. Because you are members of the military, every one of you will come into possession of information concerning such things as troop strength, composition, and movement, and other vital information which would help the enemy destroy us if it were known to him. If you reveal such information deliberately, you will be a traitor to your country and will be dealt with accordingly. If you reveal it unintentionally, the harm to your country will be just as great. What is the difference between a paid enemy agent and a thoughtless young man writing a death warrant for himself and his crewmates? The only difference is one of intent. The catastrophe would be the same. Now take this letter, for instance. Dear Mother, I have to hurry. I've just got time for one last letter. We shove off sometime between now and midnight. I'll sure be relieved when we get where we're going. We have 7,800,000 gallons of aviation gasoline aboard.
Gallons of gas. Who could be so dumb?
You doubt that anyone could be so careless? Well, gentlemen, this information was just one of the many items stopped by the censorship wall during World War II.
The objective of military censorship is to prevent the inadvertent or willful disclosure of information which would harm the United States and her allies. To examine the correspondence of the personnel of the armed forces is an enormous task. While overseas, the average soldier writes 3.5 letters a week. Multiply this by 10 million men. 26 letters to be examined by military censors every time the clock ticks. More than 200,000 letters every hour. Day after day, military censorship may be called upon to control a number of letters as great as the population of the entire Dominion of Canada.
Because of the vast potential harm inherent in almost 2 billion letters a year, it is necessary to invade the privacy of your mail during wartime in search of contraband information. Every one of you should form the habit of blockading this strategic war material. I'm referring to military information.
Military information, though intangible, is of vital war materiel. Keeping it from the enemy is as vital to victory as any of the tangible war materials. Oil, gasoline, or munitions. But unfortunately, the importance of keeping military information out of personal communications is not sufficiently recognized by some of us. Let's examine a few case histories. Because of the paramount importance of surprise, this great ship has been given only a minimum escort. Her objective is to carry our offensive into the very heart of the enemy's homeland. Her principal protection lies in the secrecy which surrounds her movements. Tonight she will come within striking distance. The attacking force is launched. The airmen are on their own. The carrier and her escort have withdrawn. A hostile land. To be forced down here will mean death or worse. But they'll make it, provided the security wall has not leaked. Mission accomplished with complete tactical surprise. The bombing of this city brings with it a terrible awareness of impending defeat to the enemy. After completing its mission, each plane will find its way to specially prepared airbases. What lies ahead? A haven or an ambush? That depends upon the effectiveness of the security wall. What are the essential requirements for the success of any military operation? A plan, men and materials to carry out the plan, and an absolute blockade of military information. Let it be said to the credit of the thousands of men who came into possession of information about this undertaking because of their participation in it, that only one man mentioned it in his correspondence. But that one letter, consider the terrible consequence of that one letter in enemy hands. It contained information revealing the exact location of the island airbase.
Sergeant.
Yes, sir?
Get Tennyson here. On the double.
Yes, sir.
The deciding factor between victory and defeat can very well lie in the pages of one intercepted letter. The writer of the letter is responsible for its contents. The penalty for premeditated and willful disclosure of military information is severe. The violator may be sentenced to as much as 5 years imprisonment at hard labor, made to forfeit all pay and allowances, and finally be dishonorably discharged from the service. Every one of you must become a self-censor.
You have been looking at a case history of a successful military operation in which the blockade of information from the enemy played a vital part. Now, let's look at another case. This is enemy territory. On our maps, this shore is labeled Black Beach. How strongly is it defended? We must find out. We intend to land here. Specially trained personnel often are called upon to penetrate enemy territory to get this information, for on it depends the success or failure of all major operations. For this reason, up-to-the-minute reports are constantly being supplied by military intelligence and added to our operation plans.
Intelligence reports that the approach to Black Beach is protected by a minefield. Apparently, the enemy is relying mainly on this minefield for his defense. Also, the absence of permanent or strong fortifications indicates that he does not expect operations in this area. Therefore, we will make our landing along this lightly defended coastline and the area behind it. Like all military operations, the success of the landing depends upon surprise. We will use shallow draft landing vessels and will ride in over those mines. We will proceed inland rapidly, according to plan. According to present planning, D-Day will be between 20 and 24 May. The 5th Division will spearhead the operation.
Why so pensive, General?
I'm wrestling with my conscience. Your brother Jimmy's in the 5th Division, isn't he?
Yes, he is. Why?
Look, Helen, you're a sensible girl or I wouldn't plan on marrying you. I found out something today. Now, for heaven's sake, keep that pretty mouth of yours shut.
Division, Cedarville, between 20 and 24 May. Fragments of military information. What does the enemy need to destroy this flotilla? Just one thing: information that the landing will be made at a certain place at a certain time. Our planning was based on reports that this area was lightly defended. What caused the enemy to strengthen his fortifications at this crucial moment? Information. Information which passed through the blockade. What is destroying these American lives and American equipment? Strategic war materiel. Information in enemy hands. What should have been a successful landing and an almost unopposed advance became a costly operation.
Rough going over there, wasn't it, Corporal?
Rough. It was murder. What kind of leadership have we got anyway? Sending us right into a death trap. What kind of brains have they got?
My brother Jimmy. How did it happen?
I don't know. Last time I saw him, we hit the beach. All hell broke loose.
I think we better go, Helen.
They're heroes, too, to the enemy. The aggressor would be glad to give each of them a medal for their performance. Yes, they're heroes, but not like one of these.
Military information must be kept out of the letters you write. Do this yourself, understanding and realizing the importance of censoring your own letters. Now, this is a small request to make, and it's a negligent man indeed who will not comply wholeheartedly.
Write about anything you choose, except about military matters. Don't discuss the character and movement of United States or Allied forces within or without the continental limits of the United States. Their location, identity, composition, equipment, or strength. Don't discuss their assembly for embarkation, actual embarkation, routes, schedules, or destination. Don't discuss the identity, location, or movement of United States or Allied aircraft or vessels, their cargo, ports of arrival or departure. Don't discuss the details of convoy formation, the existence of minefields or harbor defenses, ships or aircraft under construction, prospective dates of completion or launchings. Proud new ship. What is her destiny? A long career in the service of her country, or destruction and burial at sea? A few wrong words will sink her. Be sure that you do not say or write those words. These are your countrymen. Where are they going? To victory or to annihilation on some hostile shore? Words as well as bullets will kill these men. Don't you supply the ammunition. The objective of our Constitution, the aim of our government, the purpose of our armed services is to secure the blessings of liberty for ourselves and our children, yours and mine. Do your part to preserve the liberties which make up the American way of life. It's a good life, the best in the world.